Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. Today, I guess it's again that time of the month when I'm showing off the fountain pens that I've been making for the past month or so. I have made about 10 fountain pens, all pretty much the same kind of colors that I've been doing before, with the exception of 4 of them. First of all, I did 2 of my green pastel, so this collection keeps on growing up slowly. And again, very simple, very clean. Some of them they do have this interesting striation on the side. And I actually like it quite a lot. And I think I'll be fighting with my camera and focusing on these. Same thing as before. Simple, clean, and they do pose quite nicely. As mentioned before, I usually don't put nibs on them unless I use them or I keep them, sell them. I did 2 more of the verdigris. One of them actually turned out very interesting. This one has more blue to it. Which I actually like. And this one I managed to put it to post quite nicely. And the other one has not as much blue, but it has quite a nice pattern as well. And the other 2 that I did, and this is something that I haven't done for a while, I did 2 of the electric blue. I still have quite a lot of blanks for these ones. These ones turn out to have a much deeper color to them. And again, an interesting pattern. Polished it as nice as I could have. Can actually see the reflection quite well in them. One of them though, unfortunately, I was not able to make it post as nice. I went a little bit too much with the sanding, and while you can sort of push it in there, it doesn't stay as secure as the other ones. Let me move this aside. But it still works. Anyway, they're plenty long enough if posting is not what you care. And the other one actually posts quite nice and secure. Unfortunately, with the other one, I sanded just a little bit too much. Both of them has nice patterns. I like them. I really like these electric blues. I don't know why I call them electric blues, but I like the blue that he has. And then, basically, more or less 2 new colors. First of all, this one I call it copper red. So basically, it's a combination between red and a dark copper. Not sure how well it'll show in the video. And it does have a little bit of a sparkle to it, depending on how the light hits it. My light in here, it's very uniform, so I'm not sure if it'll make anything sparkle. But yeah, so basically it's red and a dark coppery like color to it. And this one posts nice, actually very nice. I like these ones. These and the other ones with a bad pumpkin are my favorites. And the other one, I think you're gonna be able to see the coppery thing a little bit better on this one. Hopefully. It's very subtle. And this one posts just as nice. Very nice, very deep and secure. And the last two, very similar with these, same red, but this time I used the black. So basically, well, I call them black red. Yeah, I'm pretty good at naming things. And basically it's the same red, but this, oh, a little bit of glitter right there. But basically it's using black and red. And this is the last resin that I had. So until I buy new resin, these are all the colors that I have, and I'll be working with them. This one actually had like a happy accident. I don't know what happened there, but it looks like I got a piece of clear resin in there, and it's almost see-through. It's on the other side as well. So it's basically like a window in there, which I actually kind of like. At first I thought that maybe it was a hole when I was turning it and I got scared. But when I took a closer look to it, it was just resin that somehow color didn't got to it, or maybe it got combined with another piece of resin that somehow dropped in there and it was transparent. Anyway, regardless, I love the happy accident. I like this one. And the other one is pretty much the same, just with a different pattern to it. I don't try and control the patterns, I just usually let them be whatever they want to be. In this one you can see the sparkles. They all have the same amount of sparkles into them, just I guess depending on how light hits them. Some are more visible than others. And this one posts just as nicely. And yes, all of them are still using the JOWO number 6 nib units. And I do know that a lot of people might not like them. I know that, well, nibs can be very personal, and some people will like JOWO nibs, some people will hate them, and some people like me will just accept them and don't care as much. So speaking of nibs, I guess I should say that right now I don't have a lot of nibs. The only nibs that I have are the JOWO 6 nibs, and again, I understand that not a lot of people like them, or some people don't like them, and I mean, it's a perfectly valid reason. Nobody's wrong with liking them or not liking them, but unfortunately, that's the only ones that I have. However, if you want to use a different nib unit with the JOWO, no, a different nib, number 6 nib with the no JOWO nib unit, you can. It's just that you have to take in consideration a few things. So let me show you a few ideas on how you could change the number 6 nib on the JOWO nib unit if you don't like JOWO nibs. Okay, so what I have right here is basically, well, my fountain pen, the bespoke fountain pen with the JOWO nib unit installed on it. And then I have this is a Navalar, a nib. This is a JOWO nib, a regular JOWO nib. I believe this is an extra fine. In here I have a Hondayang number 6 nib unit. This is basically the Kanwrite titanium nib. This whole nib unit, it's actually built to be used as a JOWO nib unit, so you can replace it entirely. This is a Moonman nib unit. This is Bok nib unit. This is another Kanwrite, but not titanium. FPR nib, JOWO nib, and the famous and beloved basically JOWO blade flame nibs. And I've seen a lot of people, what they do, they actually remove the nib and the feed from here and then just replace it with a nib that they want. Let me show you something. If you do that, what happens? Now all nibs in theory, they do fit the color. Comes out very easily. I'm just gonna put the JOWO nib, actually no, the JOWO nib aside. I'll keep the feed in here. So I'm gonna try first the regular JOWO nib. Looking at this, it seems that it fits quite nicely, right? Now if we put them in here, again the inside is keyed, so the flat part has to go with the flat inside. Then you push it in, and in theory, Bob's your uncle, right? That's it. Seems to be fitting quite nicely. At least this JOWO nib unit, nib, fits this quite nicely. Now let's try something else. This is the Navalar. Again, trying to find a flat part. The flat part. Push it in. Make sure the nib goes pretty much this much. That's the proper way to do it. And now if we look here, if it's not very visible in here, I will try and take a picture and post it. But you'll see that there's a space between the feed and the nib. While it might work, depending on the ink you're working with, might not be ideal because you shouldn't have that big of a gap between the feed and the nib. I hope it's visible on the camera. If not, I'll try and take a picture. Let's try something else. So that was Navalar. Let me go back to the JOWO just to make sure I got it right in the first time. Yep, this JOWO seems to work nice. So that's one that you can use. I'll put it on the side here with the JOWO nib. Now let's get the JOWO. Now JOWO has the same issue as the Navalar nib. So JOWO, no go. Let's go for the flame JOWO. Now, surprise, surprise, then this one, the gap is just as big, if not bigger than the other ones. So I've seen people using them and I know they work, but I wouldn't recommend it because of that gap. You might have skipping issues depending on the inks you are using. Now I'm going to try and go quickly through them. FPR nib. Same, there's a gap. Oh, you can see it right there. There's a gap between the nib and the feed. Again, it's because of the straight profile of the nib, while the JOWO nib is curved, so as such, the feed is curved as well. This one, okay, a little bit harder to remove. Now, Let's try the bulk nib. And as such, this one has a gap in there as well. Again, probably it can work. I wouldn't recommend it though. And let's try one of the Kanwrite. And this one has a gap in there as well. So again, not ideal to use because straight profile, curved profile on the feed. Now you might be asking, why you keep on showing me this, Eugene? If they don't work, what's the point to show me this? What I'm trying to highlight in here is that you cannot use this specific feed with all the other nibs, unless you find a nib that actually goes by the profile of the feed. And so far, the only one that I have seen that works was this extra fine nib. Now you could definitely bend the nibs and make them work, but that's work and you can easily screw them up. However, I have a better solution for you. I'm still using the JOWO nib unit, but instead of using their feed, how about we are using the bespoke feed? Surprise, surprise, this one actually works in there very well. And it fits basically the nipple in here quite well. And just taking one of the things that they didn't work, let's get again the flame kaijulu nib. Need to get it right. It is a tight fit, but if I can get it to focus, no gap. Look at that. And the feed and the nib, they fit in quite nicely. However, if you don't have a bespoke nib, or better said, if you don't have a bespoke feed, is really tight in there with the bespoke feed, you can use the generic number 6 feed that you find on all pens. So let's try and see how this one is going to fit in the... And would you look at that? It fits. And no gap in there. And this actually sits in there pretty nice and tight. No issues with that. And I believe you can buy these nibs with these feeds. They come as a pair. So all you have to do is pull the JOWO nib and the feed and just place it in the kaijulu nib. Just make sure not to use the JOWO nib. Let's try one more nib. Let's try the movement nib. All these nibs except the JOWO nib, they have a straight profile and they will all work. Just make sure you use the generic feed. I know it's not an exciting feed, but it works. And you won't have any gap between the nib and the feed. And lastly, let me remove this. If you want something more fancy, what you can use are these titanium Kanwrite nibs. They come as a whole unit and it fits in perfectly in here. And if I get it to focus, it's great. It's perfect. It works. Now I know what you might ask probably now. It's Eugene, if you can do this, why don't you just buy the nibs and provide them as packages? I can definitely do that, but the problem is this. I don't know of any place where I can go and buy these wholesale, like these kaijulu nibs or these Kanwrite nibs or JOWO nibs. If I buy them, I have to buy them basically at the same price that you would buy it from AliExpress or any other place where you might go and buy these nibs, right? I'll pay the same amount of price. So if I buy them, that's fine. I can buy them, not a big deal. But I'll buy them at the same price as you pay for. I couldn't find this. So if I do that, I get the nibs, then I have to charge extra on the price that I pay for, well, shipping, customs, and, well, for curating the parts together, right? So that means that, let's say, on a two set of Kaijulu nibs, the flame ones, especially when they come with the feed, I would pay something like 26 Canadian dollars. Now I get the parts, I make them, and then I make them fit into this. Now this will mean that basically I have to either throw away the JOWO feed and your JOWO nib, which will be a waste of money. And either I provide them to you or throw it away if you don't want it. But bottom line, you still have to pay for two sets of nibs, right? And again, plus my charge. So now you're looking, instead of buying one set of nib, you're buying two sets of nibs. And you won't even pay the same price that you would pay if you buy it by yourself on AliExpress. Instead of, let's say, 26 per two, you'll probably pay $20 for one set of nib and feed. Plus the other $20 for the JOWO nib unit that I'll have to use in order to make it work. So basically now you're going to pay $40 just so I can curate the parts for you. Which, let's be honest, is not fair for you. I couldn't do this, and I feel guilty for doing that. I don't think I would be able or be comfortable with doing that. The only thing that I can do is give you the tools and the knowledge and do it yourself. And remember, you can always buy the fountain pen without the nib units, and then you add your own. The only problem is you're not going to have the nib color for JOWO, so you'll have to use your own. So again, I don't know. I'm working on, hopefully in time, have different sections where I can fit different nib units, but that's a little bit challenging because it's hard to find the tab sizes and making sure they're working. There is a little bit of back and forth until you find the right part. And now the issue is, how am I going to build the pens? Should I just have the blanks and then only when somebody places an order, then I build a section for it? Or by default, I build it with that section for JOWO, and then if you require something else, I build something else. But then now the color won't match, most probably. So, to be fair, it can be a little bit tricky. But anyway, basically that's what I wanted to show you about the nibs and what you can do with them, and what's the best way of doing things. I don't know. I think that using the JOWO nib unit is still one of the best things to do, because the actual color, it's well built. There's no issues with it. The only downside of it is that it doesn't have a O-ring, but other than that, this is a well built color that works nicely and accommodates three types of feeds, including the buck ones, which is quite funny. The other way around doesn't work. The JOWO feed won't fit in the buck unit. But yeah, I thought that sharing this with you will help you decide what to do with your nibs, and especially how to properly change the nibs and make sure you don't have that gap. Again, majority of the straight profile nibs out there will work with the generic feed. Do not use it with the JOWO nib. You could potentially have problems because of the gap between the feed and the nib. Anyway, this video probably ended up a little bit too long, but hopefully this information was useful to you. I guess I'll leave it here. This video is too long now. I'll take a little bit of a break from my fountain pens for a while, so I won't be making any fountain pens until mid-January next year. These are my last pens for this year. And next time when I'm coming back, I might come back with a new model. And the new model will be very similar with this one, but it won't be using JOWO nibs if that bothers you. And it might be a little bit larger. Anyway, not to give it away too much, I'm gonna have something new next year. I'm still gonna build this, but I'm gonna start building something else as well in parallel with this. Anyway, I guess I'll see you next year. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, all the best, and take care. Bye.